Let's talk about the most fundamental signal in all of biology. It's the spark that literally powers our existence, and we're just now starting to understand its secrets.
And I'm not exaggerating. I mean, every single thing, every thought, every beat of your heart, every twitch of your finger, it's all happening because of this tiny electrical storm, firing millions of times a second inside of you. It is the universal language of your entire nervous system. You know, for the better part of a century, we had this story we told ourselves about how it all worked. It was a brilliant story, for sure, but it turns out it was just the first chapter. With the tools we have today, we're finding out that the reality is so much more complex, way more dynamic, and honestly, just a whole lot cooler than we ever thought. Okay, so let's make sure we're all on the same page. The star of our show is the action potential. Really, it's just a simple, all-or-nothing electrical pulse. Think of it like a single one in the binary code of your body. When a neuron fires, this is what's happening. It's the basic unit of information in your brain.
So where did our original story come from? Well, our journey starts in a pretty weird place, with a squid. Yeah, you heard me right. Back in the 1950s, two scientists, Hodgkin and Huxley, used the giant nerve fiber from a squid to create a mathematical model that would basically define neuroscience for generations to come. Their model was just beautiful in its simplicity. It broke the action potential down into a kind of three-act play. Act 1, depolarization. Sodium gates burst open and positive sodium ions flood into the cell, making the inside suddenly positive. Act 2, repolarization. The potassium gates open up and positive potassium ions rush out, bringing that charge right back down. And for the finale, tiny little pumps get to work, resetting everything back to the start, ready to fire all over again in a fraction of a second.
But here's the thing that gets me. Even as they were winning a Nobel Prize for this work, Hodgkin and Huxley were unbelievably humble about it. They knew they were just describing what was happening, not the actual physical machinery that was making it happen. They literally said their model was just a first approximation. They knew even back then that this was only the beginning of the story.
And wow, were they right? Fast forward to today, and we have technologies that Hodgkin and Huxley couldn't have even dreamed of. We can now look right past their beautiful electrical blueprint and see the unbelievably intricate, moving parts that are actually running the show.
This is where we see this incredible leap from theory to reality. You see those gating particles in their old model? They were basically just placeholders in an equation. They were a brilliant guess for something that had to be there. Well, now, using things like cryo-electron microscopy, we can actually see them. And they're not just variables. They are these stunningly complex protein machines called ion channels, and they literally twist and contort to let ions through with atomic precision.
And this machinery isn't static. It's constantly adapting. We used to think the brain's wiring was pretty much set in stone after we grew up. Turns out, that's not true at all. For instance, get this. Scientists studying gerbils found that right after the little guys start hearing for the first time, the actual physical shape of their auditory nerves changes. The axon, that's the nerve's wire, it gets thicker. This change, which you can see right here in the chart, fine-tunes the speed of the action potential. The brain is literally upgrading its own hardware based on experience. How cool is that?
This deeper understanding has even kicked off a really fascinating debate about what an action potential fundamentally is. The classic view says it's purely electrical, but there's this other idea, the soliton model, that suggests it's also a physical wave, almost like a tiny pulse of sound traveling down the nerve. Now, this could explain some weird little things the old model can't, like why a nerve releases a tiny puff of heat or even swells a little bit when it fires. It just goes to show you, in science, even the bedrock ideas are always up for discussion.
Now, this isn't just a fun academic debate. Getting this right, down to the tiniest detail, is absolutely crucial. Because when this incredibly precise electrical code goes wrong, even just a little bit, the consequences for our health can be absolutely devastating.
So what we're learning is that a whole range of diseases, things we used to see as big, mysterious disorders, can actually be traced back to tiny, specific flaws in these little protein machines. We call them channelopathies. A single sodium channel that doesn't close on time can cause the storm of seizures and epilepsy. One faulty potassium channel in the heart can trigger a deadly arrhythmia. And then there's this one channel, NAV 1.7. It's like the body's volume knob for pain. If it's turned up too high, you get chronic pain. If it's broken and turned off completely, you can't feel pain at all.
But here's where the story takes this incredible, hopeful turn. Because if we can understand the problem on a molecular level, well, that means we can start designing solutions with that same level of precision. We're really entering an era where we can start to reprogram the spark of life itself.
You can really see how our whole approach has changed. In the past, our drugs were like sledgehammers. They just shut down all sorts of channels, which caused a ton of side effects. Now, we're building drugs that are more like tuning forks, designed to subtly adjust only the specific channel subtype that's causing the problem. And looking ahead, we're talking about tools like CRISPR to go in and fix the genetic typo at its source, a permanent, molecular repair job.
And the solutions on the horizon are just mind-blowing. We're talking about smart brain implants that can sense a seizure coming and send a precise electrical pulse to stop it before it starts. We're using AI to search for new drugs at a speed that was impossible just a few years ago. And we're even designing bioelectronic devices that can literally speak the electrical language of the nervous system to help restore vision or movement.
Which brings us to this really profound final thought. For pretty much all of human history, we've been at the mercy of the electrical code written in our DNA. But we're now moving from just being able to read that code to understanding its grammar, and now, finally, learning how to write new sentences ourselves. So the real question is, are we finally becoming fluent in the body's native language? Because if we are, that changes absolutely everything.